is WVVA in Focus, a weekly program about important issues and events in the two Virginias.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this edition of In Focus. This morning, we're putting the spotlight on Southwest Virginia Community College, located in Tazewell County. Joining me for this segment is Dr. Tommy Wright. He's the president of Southwest, and then we'll have some more guests joining us in just a few moments on our upcoming segments. But Dr. Wright, thank you for being here. It's been a while since you've been here. It's always great to have you here in the studio.
Thank you. Always a pleasure. You're always so kind.
Oh, well, I try to be. Let's talk about a lot of exciting things going on at Southwest. First, let's talk about enrollment numbers and the growth over the past few years.
Gosh, you know, you may hear in higher ed sometimes that enrollment is sort of on a decline, but we are so fortunate in our area to have seen growth, not just this year, but over the last few years. So growth for us continues to remain strong, I think in part because of the governor's G3 program that came out this last year, and then our counties all have some form of a free tuition program already in place for high school graduates. So for us, we continue to see strong enrollment, and we're very pleased because it's not the same way necessarily across the state.
Right, and for those who live in West Virginia who may be unfamiliar with the G3 program in Virginia, update us on what that is.
Sure, so the governor, Northam, had developed this program where really students that graduate from Virginia high schools are able to go into their community college and get 2 years of an education, and it's primarily for degrees that put them to work immediately. So there are particular paths, and students, not always and not every student will qualify, but large percentages. So we are excited to see the growth that that's helped us with. Things that put students to work right after graduation are primarily the paths that help with.
And speaking of growth, Southwest expanded to a site in Bluefield.
That's right.
So let's talk about that and some of the trades and high demand fields that are being offered right now.
Yeah, so for us, you know, Southwest was built in the center of our geographical area, and when we look at that, everyone has to drive to Southwest. One of the areas that we think is a growth area is Bluefield, and it is our largest, you know, population center, but yet we didn't have a strong presence there. So we said, let's go ahead and get into that market. We leased a space there, and we opened. Perfect timing, about the time COVID started. So we had to sort of set that aside for a little while. But this spring we opened, and then we'll be in full-scale motion this fall, offering things like heating and air, electrical, welding, but we also have core classes, math, English, science, general education classes as well.
Okay. And it seems like some trades are in high demand more so now than they were maybe even 5, 10, 15 years ago, and you touched on them briefly, but what trades are in really high demand right now?
Well, I would say that the trades in general across the board are always in demand, and I know for any of us that are homeowners, when we need electricians or plumbers or masons or anyone, it's so hard to find, right? So they were always in demand. But for us at Southwest, there are other areas in demand as well. Anything in the healthcare arena, nursing is in high demand. Every one of our nurses, when they graduate, they have a job, you know. So there are other programs as well that we see, CDL, truck driving, diesel mechanic. Those are programs also that have high demand.
And let's also talk a little bit about the Buchanan County area, what's going on there with the site as far as the logistics and CDL program and the need for diesel mechanics as well.
Yeah, so we're really excited about that program. It too is taking sort of a new interest for us and a broader regional interest, because it is a program that is really the diesel part of that, the mechanic part. The closest other program is going to be in Nashville. So we are looking to see people from Pikeville and all sorts of places in the nearby region for that. But it is exciting. We're seeing such big growth in that area.
And Dr. Wright, let's also talk about housing, and we have some video I'd like to share with our viewers now while Dr. Wright talks about that, but specifically of housing and some of the groundbreaking going on there. So let's update our viewers on what's going on with that.
So, you know, it's really exciting. There are no community colleges in Virginia that has student housing, but that's a topic that's near and dear to me. I've spent a lot of my career in student housing. And I think that it is vital for us. As I said earlier, many of our students must drive to our campus. With the price of gas now, if you drive every day from an hour away, you could live near our campus at a price point lower than you can pay for gas. So as we did the surveys and we did the statistics, we believe that providing student housing on the edge of our campus is vitally important for our students. It's also, research is very clear, just that students that stay engaged and or near their campus, living together with their peers, they graduate more. So it's a retention piece and a retention tool that's valuable to us as well. So we expect to see that serve our local students, but those that may have a longer drive. We also think it'll serve our Great Expectations students, which is our program that caters to students that are aging out of foster care. And then we also believe that it will serve our athletes who we are recruiting from out of the region, out of state, sometimes out of country. So those three populations will be the primary drivers for the student housing.
Right, and you mentioned something that's important. Southwest is the first community college, is it in Virginia, to offer housing?
It is. And across the nation, there's about 8% of community colleges that has student housing. None in Tennessee, none in Virginia.
Wow.
So we'll be the first to have that. So we're pretty excited about launching that initiative.
And when is the timeline for that to be finished?
Sure. So we will have the first phase will be ready this August for students coming in this fall. And then we'll have a second phase that will be ready in January. And then if those two phases go as planned and we have the supply and demand that our research has shown that should occur, we'll have the last phase ready by next August of 23.
So how many students could potentially move in this August?
So 48 students this fall, another 48 in January, and then potentially another 96 the next fall for a total of 192.
That is really exciting. Now, also a more lighthearted topic, but the Richmond Ballet recently performed at Southwest. We also have video I'd like to share of that, of some of the dancers at Southwest getting ready for that performance. But tell us about that. I mean, that was incredible. It was free to anyone who wanted to come.
Right. So, you know, when I came to Southwest, we talked about really 3 or 4 major initiatives, and I sometimes joke and say that we haven't yet moved off of the A's. We talked about academics, arts, athletics, and agriculture. And we are still, you know, using those as foundational pieces for us. We have such a strong honors program in our academic area, and we have such a strong arts program. We've expanded our arts program, and we now have theater, we have dance, we have an expansion of our music, we have culinary. So all of those pieces play in well with the arts total package for us.
And also, COVID changed the way a lot of things operated, including education in colleges. Now, the first face-to-face graduation with 500 students set for May. So let's talk about that and how big of a deal that is.
Sure. So, you know, as we said, many colleges have done graduation differently. You see drive-bys, you see virtual, you see all kinds of things. But for us, it's important for us to get back to business as usual. So we'll have that here the middle of May, and we are excited to be able to say that we've had about 500 students apply for graduation, and many times they don't all walk. We wish they would, but 500 students getting a credential that puts them into and ready for the workforce is so valuable and so important. And what's important is for them to be able to share that with their peers and others that they did this and now they should come try it and do it themselves.
All right. Well, Dr. Wright, thank you so much for joining us. We do have to take a quick break, but we're going to talk to the school's athletic director, Jason Venzel, right after this. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. This morning, we're putting the spotlight on Southwest Virginia Community College located in Tazewell County. In the last segment, you heard from Dr. Tommy Wright. He talked about some of the programs in high demand right now and the expansion into Bluefield, Virginia, and other programs in Buchanan County. Joining me now is the athletic director, Jason Venzel. And Jason, there's some exciting athletic news for us to talk about this morning.
Yes, ma'am. We're really excited. As you know, when COVID came on, everything kind of got suspended. It wasn't just the Southwest, it was across all athletics. And that was our first year that we actually competed competitively. So we suspended that year. The next year we also suspended, taking player safety and coach safety, you know, as the forefront, the most important thing. So this is our first full year of actually being able to get on the field and compete all 3 seasons. So we've had wonderful success. We've had almost the majority of all of our teams qualify for postseason. And also we qualified in the top 5 for academic All-Americans in the fall and winter. So not only are we having success on the playing field, we're also having success in the classroom. And you always try to find the silver lining in every gray cloud. And by COVID hitting, it gave us that opportunity to be able to go through and look at the fractured year that we had before the global pandemic hit to see what worked, kind of re-strategize to be able to surround our athletes with those resources to be successful on the field and in the classroom. And if you always try to find the good and kind of work through it, and that's what we've done. And now we're back. We've had a real good year, and we're bringing on new sports next year.
Oh, so let's talk about what those new sports are.
Yeah, so we're bringing on women's wrestling, which will be scholarship non-divisional D1, and we're bringing on men and women's half marathon at D2. So that'll bring us to 17 sports that we have.
Wow. So what does it take to bring on these new athletic programs? I'm sure you have to go through hurdles, no pun intended, but literally hurdles to get these programs approved. So share with our viewers how that happens with these new programs coming to be. Yeah,
we're really blessed to have an administration, as Dr. Wright mentioned earlier, art, ag, athletics, and academics. And we're very blessed to have a campus that is so tight-knit that whenever there's a hurdle, as you put, to kind of get over, everybody comes together. And that passion and love on the campus equates back to the athletic program. And it helps us with new recruits when they come on, because they're able to see, how dedicated we are as a campus and a community to making these programs successful. So we're blessed to have a wonderful administration, a wonderful staff, and a wonderful coaching staff that shares that same passion. So right now it's going through the recruiting process, getting the supplies, the equipment, the facilities ready. But Southwest was already very much blessed to have wonderful facilities already there. It was just putting everything together through the NJCA to make that happen. So we're very excited.
So 17 programs total for athletics. When did the athletics program actually come to be? Because it was fairly recent, wasn't it?
Yeah, we actually made the announcement 1 year before COVID-19 hit. So we spent the first year recruiting, brand building, getting the coaching staff together. Then the year of the global pandemic, we made it through fall and winter. Spring started in March. That's when COVID hit. So we were one of the first ones to make the decision to suspend for player safety. And it wasn't maybe a couple weeks later that the NJCA, piggybacked on us and suspended that year. So we're still, we started, we stopped, we started again. And the nice thing is to have such success in all those programs, to have those gaps, to kind of go through with their fall sports. All of our fall sports qualified for postseason. Our winter sports, 2 of the 3 made it. We had our first national qualifier in wrestling at D1, and this year we're seeing similar success in our spring programs. So to be able to have a freshman-laden group where everybody else has 2 years or the non-ticker, the 3 years, and we're all freshmen and still have that success, to be able to take that success we've already got in the classroom and in the program and to bring in another strong freshman class behind it, while all the initiatives Dr. Wright talked about, the student housing, and the new academic programs that they can come in and be a part of, and the new culinary program. All of these things coming together with the success in the classroom and on the field, it's a perfect formula for something exciting.
Well, that's a good point, and you mentioned the perfect formula, and it sounds like that would really help with recruitment, having strong academic programs, but also athletic opportunities. How does that help with recruitment?
It's huge, and it's really good, too, for the athlete that maybe was really gifted on the field of play, but maybe had some academic issues, or maybe they want to be closer to home, or maybe they're not ready to make that 4-year jump. So being able to come and play by the same rules in the NJC that the NCAA plays by, be able to maybe get your body right, maybe get your grades right, and just kind of get used to all of the work that comes into being a student athlete. Southwest is a great place to start. And to be able to compete against real high-quality D1, D2, D3 programs and grow, it's just a wonderful opportunity to be able to bring people from our area an opportunity, and those outside of our other states, other countries, to be able to come in and experience what a wonderful community we have and what a wonderful campus we have.
Back to the pandemic and how that just kind of changed everything, including athletics. Share with our viewers some of the challenges you faced as athletic director and some of the challenges the coaches and the players faced, just with all the uncertainty of when they could practice, when they couldn't practice, and just like all the uncertainty that went into that time frame.
Yeah, the hardest part, I think, right now has just been actually being able to go to high school events when the pandemic was going. A lot of them only parents were there, or there was very small numbers. So going out and recruiting and being able to have that personal connection with the student athlete is difficult. Some of the other issues is crowds were smaller. Even as you start lifting restrictions, people, and warrantly so, aren't really ready to come back out in the large crowds and come to games. So there's been adjustments, but like I said, you can always find the silver lining in all of that. So that gave us opportunities to look at new ways we stream games, new ways we present games, new way we do game preparation for the athletes and for the coaches. So it's not always, a pandemic's a horrible thing, I'm not saying that, but being able to take time to look at the way you deliver that product and deliver those care and those resources to the athletes is taking advantage of that.
Right, and being able to adapt to the circumstances that come before you too.
Absolutely.
That's another big thing. Share with us the importance of, I guess, maybe someone closer to Southwest having the opportunity to go there before jumping into a four-year school. You touched on that earlier, Jason, and I think that's important. Why might that make a difference to a student athlete, perhaps?
Well, one of the great things is we do have the tuition programs through the counties. So if you're in region, you can't get a much better price than free. Okay, so that's one thing. Another thing is, as we talked about too, is coming and getting those 2 years of general study before you go on to the 4-year, and doing it at a real good price point, and being able to be close to home and be able, if you have ambitions of going on to a 4-year to compete, being able to work on your time management, work on your study skills, work on being a student athlete. Being a student's already demanding. Being a student athlete with the practice time, the strength and conditioning, the classroom work, and the travel, it's a lot to adjust to. So being able to stay close to home, have your family resources there, have that support system, and grow and mature on the playing field, in the classroom, as a person is a huge advantage. So.
And Jason, what are some of your goals as athletic director looking ahead in the next year, 2 years, looking ahead?
Yeah, the biggest goals is to be able to continue, as we talked about, to surround those athletes with the resources, to be able to help with that transition from a high school athlete to a college athlete. And I tell all of our athletes when they come in orientation, I'm very competitive. Our administration's very competitive. But if you want to see me get emotional, it's when you walk across the stage and get those credentials. It's when you do those things you didn't think you can do, and Southwest plays a part in that, and athletics plays a part in that. And some of the greatest leaders in the workplace are former athletes, because you learn what it's like to work hard and succeed. You learn what it's like to work hard and fail. I mean, to work hard and fail doesn't mean that, it's ultimately a failure. That's those rough parts that make you a better, stronger employee and a better, stronger leader in the future. So where I see us going in 2 years is continuing to advance and never stopping and saying, okay, we're good enough. We've hit a point. It's always striving to be better. If we're going to put that on our athletes, to be able to strive to win, we need to be putting in the same workload behind them to give them the resources to be able to succeed. All
right, and that's good advice for anyone in any industry. You have to put in the work too if you want to see those that you're leading succeed as well.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Jason, thank you so much. Well, we have much more to talk about. We're going to have Morgan and Stephen Gilbert on next. They're going to be talking about some of the arts programs, including culinary arts at Southwest, right after this break. Welcome back to this edition of In Focus, everyone. This morning, we've been putting the spotlight on Southwest Virginia Community College in Tazewell County. You've heard from Dr. Tommy Wright. You heard from Jason Wenzel, the athletic director. And now joining me, our husband and wife, Stephen and Morgan Gilbert. Thank you so much, both of you, for being here this morning.
Thanks for having us.
So Morgan, I'll start with you. We've had you on In Focus. It's been a few years, but what's new with the arts department?
Yeah, so just as Jason was talking about a second ago, we have had focuses for Southwest Virginia Community College were athletics, arts, agriculture, and academics. Our arts program is blossoming and growing exponentially over the past year. So we started out reinvigorating our visual arts program. We've added classes in dance, in theater. Our culinary arts degree program starts this year. So luckily I'm able to
I was going to say, you have your husband
tag along my hubby here.
So Stephen, let's talk about the culinary arts program then. So it's just launching?
Yeah, we're going to start in August, and we're going to be offering a 1-year certificate program and also a 2-year associate's degree program.
Well, that's exciting. And why do you think it's important to have culinary arts offered right at Southwest?
Well, we found when we owned our own restaurant for a couple of years that finding a good trained staff is really, really difficult. And I know that is kind of across the board in any profession, but we felt that being able to train students and have them go out into the workforce and already have that sort of leg up would be really, really helpful. So we decided to start that.
And you mentioned that it's going to be a one-year program launching in August. Who would be right for that program? Would it be someone who already works in a restaurant, someone who's just interested in culinary arts? Should they have some kind of background in cooking, or if anyone could try it?
Anybody can try it. I mean, right now, actually, I've been teaching a little bit through our workforce program, but it's transitioning over, and one of my students is actually a little bit an older gentleman. Sorry, I didn't mean to. So he's taking it for fun and learning some stuff, I hope. But anybody can try it if they have a love for food and just want to give it a shot and just even just to cook better at home is great. Or if they really want to try to get out and start a career in food service, that's great too.
And Morgan, why do you think it is important to have culinary arts offered right at Southwest?
Yeah, and like Steve said, we are a testament to the need for it because there is a really strong pull of more and more restaurants coming to this area and people wanting that experience of going out to eat more. But you have to have people who are trained. You know, it costs businesses so much more to have to train up people. And students who go through the culinary program can start in restaurants working right on the line cooking, but they have a stronger field to get to that they can work in corporations, they can work at a higher level because they have a degree. And not only the degree and the career focused, but we have a lot of community focus in our arts program as well. So if you just want to cook better at home, we have a whole series of community classes. If you want to come and learn to make pasta one night, or a kids cooking camp in the summer, it's a great date night. It's a great take your mother-daughter night to go out and learn to cook together and to develop these skills, which is a great experience and helps you at home too.
Well, that's a good point you made about the community classes as well. Is that open to just anyone who's interested? You mentioned a wide range of classes offered at Southwest. Is that open to just anyone who wants to try out some of these classes?
It absolutely is, and we've got them all over. So these community classes are a program that we have called Living in Southwest Virginia. And these are at our BLUEFIELD headquarters, at Southern Gap in Buchanan County, at our Lebanon Center. Do note our Lebanon Center is the headquarters for our culinary program, so the classes are held down there. But these community classes we have all over that you can come learn how to decorate a cake or things like that. We also have community classes in all of the arts. So you can come to do a paint party or a kids camp that we have twice a week on a Saturday for something to do with your kids.
And what's the cost for some of these classes? Does it range depending on what's offered then?
They vary. So like the culinary classes, the amount of the class is dinner. You get to cook and make what you eat. So it's comparable to going out to a chain restaurant and having dinner. A lot of the kids classes, we make sure that we make those as cheap as can be, you know, $10, $5, so that anybody can come to these. You know, we cover our materials and we cover our instructors. We're not trying to make money here. We're trying to create resources for our community.
And Morgan, also, let's talk about the old mill that was acquired.
Yeah, and so this is another location that we are going to have tons of these community classes. So this is called the Appalachian Arts and Events Center. It's in Cedar Bluff. If you've ever driven through Cedar Bluff, you definitely know it. It's this big red building that takes up practically the whole town. Oh, wow. But it's a historic grist mill that is beautifully renovated. And it is not only housing classroom space, but it has the Appalachian Arts Center, which is an artist gallery for local artists to sell their work, and an event center. So if you want to have a wedding or a family reunion or a meeting, this is a space that you can rent out. It's absolutely beautiful. You need to stick your head in and see it.
Okay, yeah, definitely need to check that out. And like Morgan said, you can't miss it if you're in Cedar Bluff. Yeah. It sounds like it's pretty noticeable. Stephen, back to the culinary arts program. You all owned a restaurant in Abingdon. What did you see as far as people coming in that just probably needed some more training, and how do you feel like this program would help them get a head start at whatever restaurant they work at?
Well, to begin with, we always start everybody in the same level. We always start with the very basics, from just learning how to hold a knife to the various knife cuts, you know, how to make a stock, how to make certain soups, things like that. From the restaurant point of view, what we saw a lot of was just a real need for those basics and not knowing just right off how to make this, how to make a chicken stock from scratch, how to large dice something, things like that.
All right, well, it sounds like there's just a lot of great things going on at Southwest Virginia Community College, so I want to thank Morgan and Stephen for coming in this morning, and also Dr. Wright and Jason Venzel. It's just great things to share with the community, so I appreciate all of you for coming in. We're almost out of time here. Morgan, any concluding thoughts for our viewers who are watching this morning about the arts program or anything else at Southwest?
Yeah, so remember, there are jobs in the arts in this area, and the arts are very important, and Southwest has been fabulous to make the arts just as important as everything else that's going on in this area. And it takes art supporters, so come to events that we're having. Artists cannot create things if we don't have people to appreciate them. So community members coming to our performances, seeing what we're doing, being a part of what we're doing is so important.
All right, well, thank you both for coming in today. And I do want to let our viewers know, if you have an idea for a segment for a future edition of In Focus, it's about people and events in the two Virginias, you can send me an email to mzosh, MZOSH, at WVVA.com. We've run out of time this morning. That does it for us. We'll see you all again next Sunday.